Now we're streaming.
And we're starting, and we're live.
We're good?
Yeah, it sounds like we should be. Yeah,
All right.
we're good.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Heckin'.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 4th episode of the Kingdom Hearts Database's Cornerstone of Light podcast. Today's April 1st, 2019. I'm KeybladeSpyMaster, again joined by Chainoffire. So welcome everyone, thanks for joining us on this new episode of the podcast where we talk about everything going on in the Kingdom Hearts community, from development and news to the latest trailers to pretty much every discussion in the community. Whatever we like to talk about.
Whatever we feel like that day.
Right? So today we're going to be discussing our thoughts on Kingdom Hearts 3. It's been 2 months since the game's launch. We're going to be going over the game's release, our overall thoughts of the game, and then we're going to be discussing the particulars of gameplay, the visuals, music, and the story. So, Chain, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing flantastic. Because Kingdom Hearts 3 has me excited for flans. Because of...
Flan, apparently, yeah.
Yes, it was great. That's one of my favorite parts of the game, to be honest. Some of them. But we'll get into that.
Yeah, we're going to get into that. It was good, though.
Good. So how are you doing today, KSM?
Good.
All right.
I'm doing really good. It's been a wacky month. It is looking like it's going to rain today. It was sunny today. It was really sunny today or last week. And then it snowed, so yeah, it's been a wonderful day.
Michigan's just been just as crazy. We're finally getting heat over here, so I feel ya. But that being said, the weather, the craziness, and everything crazy. Speaking of, that was a poor transition. However, crazy things that we are speaking about is Kingdom Hearts 3's release. That was quite the roller coaster we had for the release of Kingdom Hearts 3.
Right. It could have been so much better, unfortunately.
Yeah, we had somebody back in December-ish, like a month, possibly even November, about a month or two before release, leak some Walmart guy just decided to steal a copy of Kingdom Hearts 3 and then sell it. So spoilers abound everywhere.
Yeah.
So already from that like 4-day embargo that Japan and the rest of the world had, we also had to deal with like this looming thing of like, if I go to the wrong place on the internet, I could just have the entire thing spoiled, which was the case for a lot of people, and that really sucked for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah, it went from 4 days that you tried to avoid Kingdom Hearts stuff to a whole month and a half.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I was actually spoiled on... Oh, by the way, because we are talking about Kingdom Hearts 3, and it is like 2 months since the release. What is today? April 1st, so more than 2 months after the release.
Yeah.
We don't really care about spoilers anymore because most people have played it by now. So naturally, hopefully you'll see, hey, Kingdom Hearts 3 and then leave. But, you know, that's life. But I was actually spoiled on Sora's disappearance. But I thought it was fake, so I didn't believe it until it happened. And I'm like... So I was spoiled, but it didn't ruin it for me.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, but that was the only thing I was spoiled on, and it wasn't awful. So,
Yeah.
How did you do avoiding spoilers and whatnot, KSM?
The good thing was that most of everyone that I was following on Twitter and on YouTube and whatever, they were very adamant against spoilers in the first place. So there was no doubt. Which was a good thing, because there were definitely spoilers everywhere.
Oh, completely.
Especially as the day came closer, for those of you who don't know, there were several outlets in the United States and Europe that decided to sell the game early.
Oh yeah, that's
Before the
right. Oh.
Japanese date,
Mm-hmm.
there were some that were selling the title before January 25th. And so that made it worse because now all of a sudden there's way more people with the game in the world that were
Yeah, and
were not supposed to have it.
Yeah, and I remember seeing people. There was a couple voice actors that were actually, excuse me, that were actually retweeting images from some of those leaked copies, and they didn't even realize it. They thought, oh, January 25th, right? The game's probably out. Also, like, it was already revealed I was in the game. No big deal. Because, you know, they don't follow it like a lot of people do. And it's like, oh, crap, more spoilers. Avoid official voice actors. To no fault of their own. Like, that's the internet. But,
the only time I kind of got spoiled was when we made the block list for the database.
Yes.
I went through everyone that the Kingdom Hearts wiki had flagged as having leaked spoilers. That KH13 had flagged on their Discord server. That Churro, thank heavens we had Churro. He was flagging people too on Twitter. And we love him for that. I went through all of them, and I added everyone who was still on Twitter on a block list that everyone could just add without having to go to their Twitter without going to those Twitter accounts. And that's the only time I kind of got spoiled. But I tried really hard not to look around.
Yeah, right.
And honestly, looking back, I honestly can't remember any of the specific scenes that I saw during that time.
Hey, that's awesome. And yes, our eternal yeah, no kidding. And of course, our eternal gratitude to Churros. Shout out to the grandfather Churros. But thank you also for diving headfirst into spoiler territory, risking yourself at spoilers. So
it was the last like week and a half or so, I think.
Yeah, but we do talk about how
it was funny. A lot of them had their Twitter accounts removed. By that time.
So, I mean, we do talk about how it could have been better, but we, like, looking at it, it could have also been significantly worse. Because we had, first of all, Square Enix, after the whole shebang, they ended up taking some action against some of those leakers. I don't know the official specifics, but I heard their legal action did occur. I know some people, yeah, there was, I remember one Twitter account that was sharing leaks, got an email from Twitter and Square Enix saying they basically took him to court, which is like, holy crap.
We're gonna take you down.
But haha, that's what you get. And then just a majority of the community at whole was so good about just not sharing spoilers, and they were just they're polite, for lack of a better term. They were good kids. Santa will remember this at Christmas. But so it was messy, but it could have been way messier, and like I'm so proud of the community that I'm in. I'm so thankful that I have a community like this, that I can not worry too much about being spoiled on that kind of thing, which is great.
Yeah, definitely shout out to the community for being so responsible and mature. I thought that there was going to be, I mean, I remember in December, just before the Kingdom Hearts it was November. When just before Super Smash Bros. Ultimate released, that game leaked out.
Yeah.
And people were streaming and everything with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And kudos to the Kingdom Hearts community for not doing that.
Yeah, completely.
There were definitely a lot of people that were getting a kick out of doing it, but the majority of the community strongly opposed that behavior. And it was really cool. It was really good to see that.
Yeah. So it was awesome. But
So, other than the messy, kind of, yeah, it was a pretty messy release.
mhm.
If we're gonna be honest, it was a pretty messy release. But other than that, once the game did come out, what did you think? What did you
Um,
think that the first time you opened it?
well, like naturally there were tears of joy.
Yeah.
Just it was very overwhelming. So I think it could have been a little bit better in the fact that my particular area had a really, really big blizzard that day.
Oh.
So, one, I had to brave the weather to go get my copy because I'm like, okay, I pre-ordered this. I've been waiting for this day. I'm gonna like I wasn't like anywhere near risking my life. I wouldn't say I was risking my life or anything because nobody was on the road, so whatever.
Right.
But it was I'm like, I am getting this game regardless of the cost, as long as I can play it. If it was bad enough where I would have feared my life, then I wouldn't have got it because then I could have played it.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, like the first 2 days of me actually playing it, I had to stop like every 2 hours to go shovel my driveway. Because we just
really?
had that much snow. Yeah, so it was.
Holy cow.
So I wanted to record my entire playthrough of it, but I ended up doing a highlight reel that I still have to work on. Just because I had to like stop, get up, leave, and come back, stop recording, come back. I'd forget to restart recording for a bit and then come back. So
Oh yeah.
it was a little bit messy in that sense, but just getting the game, putting it in, hearing Dearly Beloved for the first time, hearing
Oh yeah.
Face Your Fears orchestral, like that, just and I played through a majority of Olympus on release day. I got it in like 9 p.m. that day because GameStop like said, because that's when GameStop closes, so they just were like, we're not doing a midnight release here, have it. So I was like, okay, cool.
Oh yeah. So you got it the 28th.
Yeah, so I actually got it the 28th at
Ooh, lucky
9
guy.
p.m. And so, but by the time I got home, it was like 10 p.m. So I got it like 2 hours before
release night,
everybody
yeah.
else. But I also had to install it and open it and like all this other shenanigans. So it wasn't too much before. And I
Right.
tried to keep it as much to midnight as I could out of respect for everybody. But my excitement overtook me, and I'm like, screw it. It's like it's like 1 hour or two, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got through a majority of Olympus that day, and I was just like in awe the entire time of like, this is the
Yeah.
first world. Whoa.
Oh yeah. I love that. I think it took me probably 3 hours to get through the whole of Olympus.
Yeah, it took me a good chunk. I was
A lot longer than most worlds are in like Kingdom Hearts 2.
oh yeah, yeah. Especially since I was stopping to glance at everything and just like stopping to listen to the music.
Exactly.
Which is surprisingly hard to do sometimes because pausing it like makes the music stop in some instances, and it's like, don't do that. I want to listen to the music.
Yeah.
And when there's everything going on, one, you're concentrating, two, all the sound effects, it's kind of hard. But yeah. But how was your experience like opening it the first time, and like the first time you sat down and played through it? How far did you get on your first like sit down?
First sit down, I got all the way up to through Dark World up until beginning Twilight Town. Or no, right before Twilight Town.
Okay. So like all the way through
So-
Olympus. Okay.
Yeah, all the way through Olympus and Dark World.
Okay. Oh
So
yeah, that's right.
The thing with that was it was getting late,
Mm-hmm.
and I had just started a new job. So I was kind of like, I need to go to bed. I need to go to bed. And unlike the previous games, it doesn't, at least at first, the game doesn't take you to the world map until after, I think, Twilight Town.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It's
Yeah.
the first time when it naturally takes you to the world map.
Mm-hmm.
So I had finished Olympus, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna be able to go to the world map, and I'll just save there.
Yeah.
And it takes you straight into Dark World. And then it takes you into the cutscenes for leading into Twilight Town. So it's going to take you straight to Twilight Town.
Yeah.
Without ever letting you go to the world map to save. And I'm like, I need to stop here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to put
like
that down.
I'm robbing myself of something.
Mm-hmm.
But it had to be done. But yeah, I got all the way to Dark World and Olympus. It was really cool.
Yeah.
It was really fun. The whole game itself was great.
Mm-hmm. I think like for as far as introductions go, I think Kingdom Hearts 3 definitely has to be my favorite.
Yeah.
Just that, like, you know, Kingdom Hearts 1, you had that Destiny Islands thing, and you were new to the series, so it's like, okay, you were kind of getting a feel for stuff. Kingdom Hearts 2, you had the Twilight Town segment, which has its fair share of criticism, and you know, it's a little boring. This I think was fantastic. Definitely favorite. Yeah. Even better than Birth by Sleep Days, Dream Drop. You know, this was by far my favorite.
Yeah. The only thing I didn't like about the introduction to Kingdom Hearts 3 was that, you know, it felt normal, right? You start at Dive to the Heart.
Mm-hmm.
But then right after Dive to the Heart, the entire beginning of Olympus, it kind of felt like you were just dropped in the middle of this story, which felt kind of weird. Because it's not like Dream Drop Distance. You still kind of went through things to understand how the game worked.
Yeah.
Kind of understood how the story was working. Same with 2. Same with Birth by Sleep. But Olympus felt like you were starting right in the middle of the game somewhere.
Yeah, like Hades didn't start his he didn't start by saying, I'll take over Olympus, and then, like, here's life normally, and then it happens. It was, like, already in progress when, that makes sense,
and that's because, again, as we know, 0.2 Birth by Sleep was the prologue to it.
Right.
So, the opening that I kind of feel is missing in Kingdom Hearts 3 came out with 0.2 Birth by Sleep.
That makes sense, yeah.
But it just feels if Kingdom Hearts is what you're picking up for the first time, it's definitely gonna feel a little weird.
Right.
Dropped in the middle of the story.
Yeah, the 2.9 segment if I feel like that was kind of an effect that I don't have the words for it, but I feel like once the 2.9 segment ended and the 3 started, I feel like that was that is when everything started. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I believe that feels more correct too.
Yeah, that'd feel like more of a starting point. Like, I mean, I'm glad I got through. I would much rather have Olympus in 3 than I would have 2.8.
If it was in 2.9, yeah, no.
Oh, I would.
Or 2.8.
2.8, yeah. Yeah, I'm glad. I'm super glad. I'm super glad it was.
Yep, I was waiting to see how long that would take. It took a whole...
We have a loyal viewer. It's great. But yeah, so I'm glad that 0.2 existed, first of all, because seeing the differences between 0.2 and 3 just blew me out of the water. Like, I remember seeing 0.2 for the first time, and I thought, like, whoa, this is amazing. And now, like, this whole time, wow, this is amazing and better. So it makes me excited to see what else they can do. But I'm gonna hold off on that until I'm gonna let some time pass before I look forward to what's next, because I still have some enjoyment to get out of 3 yet.
Yeah, if I'm not, I might be wrong, but I think 0.2 was made in the Luminous engine, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it was. I think it was made in the.
Already made in Unreal.
I think that was made in Unreal. Yep, because I remember seeing the logo for Unreal. It was just
yeah. You're right. You're right.
yeah, because we had started. I remember seeing trailers for 3 before we saw trailers for 0.2, which is weird to think about considering the release, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think we saw everything up to Tangled, possibly Toy Story before we got anything with 0.2. But
Tangled. Because we first saw Toy Story after 0.2 came out.
okay, yep. But that being said, so what did you think about, like, we kind of talked about the introduction. What did you think about the rest of the game? Like, how was the middle? How was the end? How was your experience?
The game overall, I feel, was really great. I wrote about this, I think last week.
Yeah.
About my opinion on the whole game. I felt the whole game itself was just great. There are definitely some issues that I have with some parts of the game. And we might talk about this later on, but overall, the game was really, really well done. I think the 6 years, I believe, is when it took to develop the game. I think they were worth it.
Oh, completely.
I don't know. I don't agree with a lot of the criticism that has been thrown around over the last couple of weeks related to Kingdom Hearts 3. Like, it's definitely not perfect. It's got several things that could have been better. But overall, the game is not as bad as a lot of people have wanted to try and portray it as.
Yeah. See, for me, I also got, like, I freaking love the game, especially for, I mean, my first playthrough of anything is always the best, and is always better than any other playthrough I've ever done.
Oh yeah.
With any video game. So I tried to savor that first playthrough as much as I could. And I wish that I could explore it for the first time again, but
yeah.
So, however, I do agree with a lot of the criticisms that are being made about it. However, it didn't ruin my experience with it. I think that you can hate on a game. Well, you can enjoy a really bad game. There could be a really bad game and you can enjoy it. I'm not saying Kingdom Hearts 3 is bad by any means. I think it did a lot, and some people were expecting a little bit more, but you know, the game, how much fun you have is somewhat up to you.
Right.
I told myself, I got it before 3 released. I got into that mentality. I think I've mentioned it on one of the previous podcasts, but I told myself I am going to have fun. I want to have fun. And I had a different kind of fun than I did with some of the previous games. I didn't want to look for, okay, if it functions this way, then I'm going to like it. If it functions this way, then I'm going to not like it. I had it fun for what it is. I sat down and just kind of shut off all the, like, comparisons to other games and even outside of the series. So
yeah,
I had fun with it. I think that you can improve quite a bit, but you know, if they don't improve anything, that's fine. It is what it is, you know. Then that just gives them more time to work on whatever's next.
Exactly.
So
yeah, I honestly felt that a lot of the criticism, I guess the reason I reject a lot of the criticism is because a lot of it feels like it's based on, you know, I expect these very specific things to be in the game, and if it's not in the game the way I specifically want it, it's not worth it.
Can you imagine how much more outrage? Can you imagine how much more outrage there would have been had Frozen not been in there? Like, there were so many people pining for Frozen, and had they gotten, I don't know, Princess and the Frog instead or something, like, they would have been like, oh, Frozen should have been in here, and this wasn't as good. So, but
I enjoyed Frozen, and I don't know if I've mentioned it in this podcast or anywhere else before, but I was very skeptical of Frozen. Because I was kind of thinking, like, this is just Disney milking Frozen again.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I enjoyed Frozen in the end.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so yeah, I felt like a lot of people had like very unrealistic and very unfair expectations.
Oh,
They wanted the
completely.
game to be like other games in the series, or they wanted the game to be way too far in one direction or the other.
Mm-hmm.
People have been saying that there was too much Disney, that there should be no Disney in the next
Okay.
game, that there should be, there should be no Nomura in the next games.
Go
Like,
play Final
like
Fantasy.
none of that's gonna make the game that much
Mm-hmm.
better. If anything, more people are gonna hate the game if they had gotten what they think they should have gotten.
Exactly. Like I remember one of the criticisms was like there wasn't enough Final Fantasy, and I'm like, okay, but of course I'm coming more from the Kingdom Hearts or the Disney side of Kingdom Hearts than the Final Fantasy side, because Kingdom Hearts got me into Final Fantasy. But like Nomura released, I remember him releasing a statement saying like, you know, Final Fantasy was there because we kind of had to strongly lean on their IP to boost the our game.
Boost this game, yeah.
So, and we don't really have to do that anymore. And I'm like, and for the
Right.
Final Fantasy cameos we got, I mean, like as bosses, like if we have a Final Fantasy boss, that'd be fantastic. However, you know, a lot of their appearances, like the crew in Twilight, or in well, I guess yeah, even Twilight Town or in Hollow Bastion, Raiding Garden, and then a little bit here and there in other worlds. Like, I don't... They were alright. Like, if you compare them to their Final Fantasy counterparts, I feel like they fell really flat. So, if they felt like they couldn't do the original game's justice, especially with how... I don't want to call them convoluted, but, like, Final Fantasy games are, like, really complicated in their own universes. So to try to take something complicated into something else complicated, without screwing it up takes a lot of it's hard. Like,
yeah.
So
I mean, we think it's easy because we think we can write our own games.
Well, maybe if you just followed my fan fiction I wrote 5 years ago, there'd be no problems.
I mean, I've thought about a lot of times, like, how it would have been cooler if they had put the Radiant Garden game in Birth by Sleep.
Oh, yeah, totally. I would have loved to see them again. Like, especially with...
Cool.
Yeah.
But, I have to accept the fact that I'm not a video game writer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not in any way, shape, or form a writer, except a wiki writer. And,
right. It's different, but...
I can't... I mean, trying to write in those characters into a story as packed as Birth by Sleep would have been really difficult, and Nomura has already said that. And I imagine that's more or less the same situation here. It's like trying to put in Final Fantasy into Kingdom Hearts 3 would have been way more complicated. It's already a very packed story. Already packed with a lot of people.
Very much so.
And tacking in even more would have just taken away from that.
Completely. Like, I know there was, like, one thing I did feel about the game was that they used up a lot of their funds. I don't want to say they were running out of money, but there were some choices that I feel like could have been, they could have they could have dove in more. Like, a lot of the voices weren't there were a lot of silent people.
Yes.
Like Zoldan and Lexace is somebody whose name I'm going to slaughter. I think Naminé ended up only having one line, and she might have been voiced by Alison Stoner at that point. I can't remember
It was Megan Martin.
Oh, okay.
Who I think has voiced Naminé in the past.
Yeah. Yep. But
so she's credited, but like Philoctetes was very obviously silent. That was jarring.
Phil had a reason. We're gonna ignore Phil. But I'm sorry. Who'd you say was silent?
Like you mentioned, Dylan and Alias were also silent.
Yeah.
Even the ones that were voiced, some of them were very odd.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just gonna go out there and say I did not enjoy Kyrie as much as I hoped I would.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there.
It lived up to exactly what I was afraid it would live up to. Because Allison Stoner also voiced her in 0.2 Birth by Sleep, and I didn't really like that one either.
Yeah, I actually noticed it more in this game than I did 0.2. Maybe just because she had more lines, but yeah.
Yeah, it just sounded way too. It just sounded more high pitched.
Yeah.
To me, and I don't know. It just didn't sound like Kyrie. The world doesn't end because Kyrie got a new voice actor, but
Exactly. I still love the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there were other. I can't think of anybody right now.
There were a lot.
But there were a lot of people that just weren't voiced, or just some people didn't appear.
The voice actors were just weird. Elizabeth Swan's another one that I felt was kind of off.
Yeah. But like I was saying, they were that they were kind of like they used up a lot of their budget, so I don't think they could have even kind of tying this in with the whole Final Fantasy stuff. Like there were already a lot of people that weren't voiced, or they shared voice actors, like how Alison Stoner did both Xion and Kyrie.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's done that in the past, but so I feel like having the Final Fantasy characters there, we probably would have lost it somewhere else, I think.
Yeah, probably.
And I think there's even something about like how he's pushing the disc limit, if I remember correctly. So
there were rumors about that.
I don't know how
the game, I don't think ended up taking that as much.
Okay.
Space. It was much more space than it was expected. I think people were mentioning on Twitter that it was about 30 gigs, which ended up being about normal.
Okay.
Which, I mean, it was still fun.
It was still great. It still looks but that being said, limits and how they were doing that. Well, actually, before we go to that, what do you think about we'll tackle some of the specifics quickly. What do you think about the gameplay?
I enjoyed the gameplay. I'm gonna be honest. Unpopular opinion. I love the attraction flow.
That is a very unpopular opinion.
I loved the team attacks. The one gameplay feature I went mostly unused was link attacks. Because I had a hard time using Ralph's link.
Yeah.
I very rarely used Ariel's link. I think the only two that I used somewhat regularly was Meow Wow and
Stitch.
Simba.
Yeah.
I only used it once, and that was after I finished the game.
Yeah, I went out of my way to try to use all of the links before the end of the game, but I also felt like I had to go out of my I guess kind of the rest of the series.
Had to go out of your way.
Yeah, I feel like I had to go out of my way to use them. Like they weren't
natural at all.
Exactly, yeah. However, I feel like the most natural one was Meow Wow, and that was because that was at the beginning of the game, so I didn't have a lot in my arsenal yet.
Yeah.
But given given the links that we did have, I enjoyed them for what they were. Yeah, Ralph was a bit weird to use. I've seen people use him really well, and I'm like, oh boy, like they're.
I've seen the demos and the trailers for it, and I can't use Ralph that way. I can't figure it out.
Yeah. I saw somebody use Ralph against the Grim Guardianess from Tangled.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and all they did, Grim Guardianess was like kind of sitting there doing one of their animations, and they stacked all the blocks on top of each other. So it was like really quick, and then they used the finisher. So like it was like 5 of these, and it did like massive damage, and I'm like, oh boy, wow, this okay.
Yeah.
So there are points where like he's useful, Some people say broken, but like,
I'm sure he's really useful. It's just that's one of the issues that the game did have is that there were several of the features that are not natural in the way they're used. One that I complained about, and I mentioned this in my review, is I can't remember what it's called exactly, but the Big Mountain Railroad.
Yeah, the train, choo-choo. Yeah.
Flow, yeah, the train attraction flow did not feel natural at all.
Mm-hmm.
During my second playthrough that I was streaming on Twitch, someone mentioned how I think it might have been you or someone else might have mentioned that I was supposed to use it's supposed to be moving the reticle. I didn't realize that was a
Oh
reticle.
yeah.
I didn't realize I was supposed to be doing anything. Like
Mm-hmm.
it didn't feel natural to use. Wreck-It Ralph was also another one that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
Um,
I feel like the reason we were used to that we knew how to use Meow Wow is because we played Dream Drop. Like we know how to use that properly.
Yeah.
We just kind of.
So I haven't even finished Dream Drop Distance. I got through Traverse Town and that's it.
Oh wow. Okay.
I know the story, so I had like so little incentive to play it.
That's
fair.
fair.
It's on my to-do list.
Mm-hmm.
But I know the story. I've known it since it came out.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Thanks, YouTube.
thank you so much, YouTube and Everglow.
Right.
But yeah, it just felt more natural using Meow Wow.
Mm-hmm.
You could figure that out fairly easily.
Yeah.
And Ralph takes more work, and I guess we're just used to the whole smashing an X or triangle button to get things to work.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm.
What about you? What did you think of the gameplay?
Yeah, I'm with you on the attraction flow actually, or the attractions actually. I enjoyed them. I feel like they might have come up a little often for my taste, but then at that point I just didn't use them. I had a lot of fun with the carousel because it did a lot of like group damage. So I had really good crowd control, and then we already talked about Link's. As far as hand-to-hand combat, I felt like it was kind of a push X to win type of thing, as the series has always been doing. But
yeah.
You know, I also was playing on standard, so I didn't expect much. But I didn't really feel the need to guard at all during the game. I can't really think of an instance. I did because I tried to experiment with different play styles, but I never felt like I was in danger so I needed to guard. Maybe the final boss, but
in reality, is the game is really compared to past titles. So yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of need of you have to guard because you might.
Yeah, you did have options, which was neat.
Yeah.
Like I tried my darndest to defeat Master Xehanort with the Meow Wow, but the game wouldn't let me. You had to do a situation command with it, and I'm like, darn it.
Oh yeah.
But
I felt the gameplay was really well.
Yeah.
Gave you a lot of options, which is what I enjoyed. You really could play however you want. You could not use attractions if you really wanted to. Me personally, I love using Blizzard. A lot. I enjoyed being able to use Blizzard all I want.
Yeah.
One of the things I found that I thought was kind of unnecessary, but also kind of cool, because again, it goes back to giving you options. You can equip and use first level magic the whole game.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of weird, but I found that unlike other titles, or at least unlike Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2, which forced you to level up, going from fire to Fyra, Fyra costs more than fire. So I think that was
Oh,
some
yeah.
of the reason why it was MP management.
I could,
Um,
I could understand that.
but I didn't
The
feel like,
only reason I found out is because I didn't realize you have to equip the newer magic,
yeah,
especially to like your commands menu or
your
your shortcuts.
shortcuts. Yeah.
So I had all my first level magic going into Keyblade Graveyard,
Oh my gosh.
and didn't realize. I'm like, actually, I had all my first level magic going into Scala Kylum,
Oh my gosh. Wow.
and it was in Scala Kylum that I realized, oh wait,
This
I
is
can-
fire.
I have to equip. Like that's when I realized like I had to equip the higher magic in my shortcuts. I did not.
Yeah. I feel like Magic, I didn't really, I feel like I could have also gotten through the game on tier 1 Magic. I didn't really do, or it like level 1 Magic did a lot. So
Yeah.
I ended up just out of habit. When I did get the new Magic, I put it in. Cuz I looked at my commands and I'm like, I thought I got Fire, and then I like looked on the menu. I'm like, oh, this is weird, neat. So like I could have done that, but
Yeah.
I didn't. So maybe one of these times I'll go through Kingdom Hearts 3 with just tier 1 Magic and see how it
Tier 1
plays.
Magic.
But I feel like Magic was kind of,
great.
yeah. With everything else in my arsenal, I felt like I didn't need to do anything with my Magic.
No.
Which,
Like I said, I got through almost the entire game without worrying about it.
which I think kind of says something about the gameplay a little bit and its difficulty level, but
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, that definitely has to be. That's definitely true. And that's one criticism that was very noticeably. Because like I got through it in standard mode first time.
yeah.
Like I usually have to do beginner because I'm a terrible gamer. I'm by no means a strategically inclined think through. No, I definitely the X smashing strategy is my strat.
Yeah, and it worked.
And it went really well. Like I think I only died twice in the game, and the first time I think was it was in Arendelle.
Oh, okay.
That was the first time I died. So it was a fairly easy game. The reasoning makes sense. I think it's Tai Yasue mentioned it just last week or 2 weeks ago why it feels so easy. It was intentional. It makes sense. I agree with it. I accept it.
I think I was okay with it. I mean, they're going to be releasing critical mode, so you know they'll have stuff I can enjoy at the higher difficulty. So
it almost encourages me to try critical mode.
What's that?
It almost encourages me to try critical
exactly,
mode.
which I think
I've never played a critical mode ever.
Yeah, which I think does in that sense, I think it does it. It encourages critical mode way better than the past series do.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason to try. If you've beaten the game on standard, there's almost no reason to try proud mode or any other difficulty.
Yeah.
But
or you could try proud mode and see if it makes it difficult, but
I feel
Aquaberry. I feel like I could take on and enjoy critical mode. I'm definitely gonna die. But I feel like I would enjoy it more than, for example, Kingdom Hearts 2. I'm almost certain I'm going to die day 2 in critical mode. So,
adjust.
and here it's like I'm definitely gonna die multiple times, but I feel like I'm gonna enjoy it.
Yeah, Aquaberry started on proud mode. Like her first playthrough was on proud, and she put out a tweet that warned people like, hey, I'm doing proud mode, I suck at video games, and this is really easy. Like,
yeah.
And I'm like, and I remember doing 0.2 on proud mode and starting that, and I'm like, I'm not liking this, I'm gonna switch to standard. So
Yeah.
my mindset, I had the same like mindset for Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm like, oh, Aquaberry is probably just like really good, cool. And then I'm like, wow,
Oh, yeah.
standard
Like,
mode is kind of not
yeah.
difficult. I think I only died twice. Not including gummy ships.
Right.
But I think outside of that, I think I died. I think I died twice. In the as Sora. And one of them was Luxor's race, so that doesn't really count.
Yeah.
And I think the other time was because in Monstropolis you get on a rail, right after defeating a bunch of enemies.
Oh yeah.
So I was kind of low on HP at some point. I had gotten on the rail. I'm like, oh, I'll just cure when I'm on the rail. You can't.
Nope.
And you can't go back either. You can, unlike other games, you can't turn around like you can in Dream Drop. So, oh yeah, and I was low on HP, or I was low on MP. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll just get on the rail. It'll take like 2 seconds. I'll heal again and we'll be fine. So I died as a result of that.
Yeah. I lost a whole lot of times in Luxord's race thing. I don't count those as dying because that was.
Yeah, that does. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, when I say I died twice, I mean there are 2 spots where I died. I lost to his race like 2 or 3 times before I got it.
Yeah, that one was super difficult. That drove me nuts.
Mm-hmm. Especially when like you're still learning how to like do the shit. Like I think I'm a master of the ship now. Like I could do it, and I'm sure I'm fine. But But yeah, so difficulty was a little bit odd. I'm looking forward to critical mode.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I think my favorite part of the gameplay was Keyblade transformations. I had a ball with those. Those were great. I mean, I'm trying to think of some of the.
I still haven't gotten through all of the. I think the ones I'm missing mostly are shot locks.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still in need of unlocking the Ratatouille Keyblade, which name I'm forgetting, the Classic Kingdom Keyblade, and Ultimate Weapon.
Yeah, have fun with those. Those were some. I got those after story, so I didn't have. I was already like late game leveling at that point. So I didn't get as much enjoyment out of them as if I had still had some like story to do. However, they were really cool. They looked cool. So
they look like they were fun.
Yeah, and Classic Kingdom was I feel like they weren't any different than my opinion on them hasn't changed since Union Cross. Yeah, since X Trace or Key Trace or however X Trace. Yeah. I was kind of disappointed with 100 Acre Wood.
Oh yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
I don't agree with the idea that it was thrown in last second, but it definitely could have been done better. Felt really short. And almost
I was happy Lumpy was there. I didn't really like Lumpy's movie, but I'm glad they acknowledged Lumpy. It made my heart warm. And then they kicked Eeyore and Kanga out in the process, and I'm like, was it really worth it?
For a game or for a world that was done in about 30 minutes.
Yeah. Did they mention that?
No, but I feel like it probably took only 30 minutes to finish 100 Acre Wood.
Oh, like you mean playthrough. Sorry, I thought you meant like they made it in 30 minutes. I'm like, what? That doesn't sound right. But yeah, it was like, okay, neat. Some of the mini games in other Disney worlds I'm trying to remember what they were.
There's
The dancing
Rapunzel's
minigame.
one. Yes.
Dancing was really fun. I had a lot of fun. I feel like that was my favorite minigame.
I have mixed opinions about it.
That is all
Mostly
right.
because I can't do it.
That's
Just
that.
like in real life, I can't dance either.
If, exactly. Well, that's why I liked Kingdom Hearts 3. I could dance in that. I can't dance in real life, so.
Nope.
It's,
Nope. I was thinking like, well, if I can't dance in a video game, where all I have to do is push 3, how is anyone gonna expect me to dance?
right? Exactly.
Um.
That's why I stay home on
Ariel's
Friday
Frozen
nights.
Slider was another one that I haven't really done very well with, but
Yeah, it. I used a guide to find all the treasures in there because I said screw them. There was so many different paths. My goodness.
yeah, I'm realizing that I've only found 2 of the treasures.
Yeah, I used the guide immediately because I'm like, there's no way in heck I'm gonna find all these, and I want the ultimate weapon immediately. I want it in my possession right now.
And then
Venom Rex, getting the trophy
Venom Rex-
requirement is that is hard.
is it? I haven't
Yeah.
looked at the trophy requirement for Venom Rex, but I
Um,
enjoyed Venom Rex.
it was neat. It was all right.
Maybe
The
I'm
most
just
difficult, the most painful part was trying to get that score requirement.
Okay.
But it wasn't awful. I definitely struggled with it, but considering I didn't struggle with a lot of the game, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
And then the flans. We can talk about the flans now.
The plan.
I loved them. I didn't like Big Hero 6, but besides that, I loved them. Especially the picture-taking one.
Oh, the plan. Yeah.
They were cute.
Yeah. I had a hard time with the banana plan in Monstropolis.
In Monstropolis.
Yeah.
Did you ever play Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix?
Yes.
Okay, because that.
Also,
Do you remember the mushroom in Land
I
of?
finished through it, but I haven't finished all the final extras.
Oh, okay. Because there's a mushroom in Land of Dragons that has a similar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That one takes. I don't know if I've ever actually finished that one.
But
That
I
one,
used.
I've tried that one a lot of times too.
Mhm.
That one's really hard too.
I used the same strategy I used for that and just going around in a circle. and
That's ultimately after like 15 tries. That's how I finally was able to do it using that. But like I kept doing that every time. It's
I
just-
wish
I
it
also
was. I wish it
be
was a
careful
bit
that-
bigger. Like the arena was a bit bigger,
Yeah,
but
exactly. Because the problem I was having is that I would on multiple occasions I'd land, and then I would land exactly as the flan was coming after,
oh yeah.
and I couldn't see it coming. So as soon as I landed and was getting ready to jump up again, the flan had already eaten me, and I was like, dang it.
It's
again.
like darn it, yeah.
But yeah, the flans
But
were
yeah,
fun though.
Plans were good.
I really,
think
like you mentioned, I really enjoyed the picture one. Kingdom of Corona generally was a wonderful world. I don't think I have a whole lot. I don't think I have any criticism of Kingdom of Corona.
I didn't like this.
Especially
I
the
had
plot.
problems with the story in Corona.
Okay, yeah, I'll agree with that.
Yeah, but I mean there were worse parts in the game that had worse stories, so it didn't affect it too much. I felt like the gameplay for the game for my personal experience, the gameplay for the game in Disney World got worse and worse as the game went on. I feel like all my favorite worlds were in the beginning and my least favorite worlds were in the end.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Pretty good assessment.
I
find that my least favorite or my least enjoyable worlds were Caribbean and San Francisco.
Yeah, a lot of people agree with you on that. I was actually one of the few that enjoyed the Caribbean.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun just destroying ships. It was extremely satisfying. And as far as exploration went, I thought it was awesome that you could go to all these different islands.
Oh yeah, I thought the open worldness of it was really cool.
Yeah. So I think my top 3 worlds were Corona, Olympus, and Caribbean, in no particular order. But San Francisco was definitely my least favorite by far. Especially since there was one night where I really couldn't, because you can get super lost in San Francisco.
Oh yeah.
I eventually found that there was a safe spot in the bottom left corner. But it's really hard to know when you're playing it for the first time and you're like falling asleep and you're like, crap, I gotta go to bed, and you're trying to find a safe spot and you can't.
Yeah.
It becomes annoying real quick. So I think I actually ended up keeping my PS4 on all night because I couldn't find one.
Yeah. Which lends to one of the other things that I know going into the game a lot of people were expecting. Was more open worldness. I know I was hoping for more open worldness. But there's one of your negatives to that is it's harder to save.
Yeah, and it's easy to get lost. So I was okay with the amount of open worldness personally. Especially in.
Yeah. I think it did it really well.
Yeah, I don't think there was a world I wish was bigger outside of 100 Acre Wood. As far as Disney worlds go.
Okay.
All the original worlds I say go bigger, but as far as Disney worlds,
Twilight Town could have been much bigger.
Yeah, Twilight Town could have explored Radiant Garden. Scala could have been bigger. Keyblade Graveyard was, I mean, for what it was, there wasn't anything to do there post game, so
yeah.
And you can't really do much with the desert.
Yeah.
But as far as the Disney worlds go, there was a lot of open worldness. I was fine with it. Half of the fun was trying to figure out where the heck you were, except for San Francisco. Arendelle was a bit difficult too.
Arendelle was very difficult.
Yeah.
I kept getting lost because in my head I can kind of build like a mental map of where I am. I can do that like where I'm at, like in real life, and I can do that in the video game. But Arendelle was really tricky to do that with because I kept like I wasn't sure where I was anymore every time.
Yeah.
Especially every time Sora was kicked off the mountain, and he'd land in a completely different place, and I'd be like, I don't know
where the heck I am. Yeah. I feel like a big problem with San Francisco and Arendelle was that all the environments looked the same. But in worlds like Olympus and Corona and Caribbean, well, maybe not so much Caribbean, but there was a lot of diversity in their environments. Like, in Olympus you had the mountain, you had Realm of the Gods, that was very cloudy, you had down below that was very grassy. So like getting lost was a lot harder.
Corona was the same because you'd have the process of you'd have the forest, then it got dark, then it was light again. You had the cave, then you had the city.
Then you had the town, the town. Monstropolis was a little. I actually ended up struggling post game in Monstropolis. But
I could do that.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's as much as I want to talk about gameplay. It's gonna be a long podcast.
Go ahead and jump here. Let's actually go ahead and jump here to music real quick.
Oh, that's easy.
That exactly. What do you think about the music, Shane?
It was good. Next. It was.
We're gonna talk about this more in a later episode, but
we'll talk about it more next month. Kind of just a real snippet of it, of my views on it. The biggest complaint about music for a lot of people was that there wasn't enough original music. Most of it was remixes. But I completely disagree with that. There was a lot of original music. People don't realize it. because it blends so well into the environment. And there was a lot more music than there was in past series.
Oh yeah.
And there were different variations of the same track. Like Tension Rising had like 3 different versions.
Yes, that's what I've heard.
So I'm gonna disagree with all those people and say they're wrong. And I loved it. I didn't find any music that I hated, like in some of the past titles that I can think of off the top of my head. There were some that was like but I wasn't annoyed by anything, which was like great.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I really enjoyed the music in Kingdom Hearts 3. There were definitely some that were, what's the word? I didn't hate them, but they weren't that exciting. They were kind of forgettable. The different variations of the theme song, of the field theme in Caribbean is one example. Because usually...
I really like that one, actually.
Usually for me, with this series, I tend to, the music is catching up that I can hum it, outside of the game, But I'll forget much of, like, Caribbean. I can't hum the Caribbean. I forget it, usually.
That's fair.
San Francisco is another one. It's not
yeah,
that
San Francisco was but I also spent the least amount of time in San Francisco, so that makes sense.
I intentionally choose not to be in San Francisco as much as possible.
Yeah. I also haven't listened to the entire soundtrack and, like, looked at the list yet. Like, I haven't just sat down and listened to it. I've only listened to it in-game, other than a couple of songs that I really want to listen to outside of it. But we'll talk about that next podcast, because we have some plans to talk about the music next podcast.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it though. It was really I personally enjoyed a lot of the remixed music.
Yes, yep, I'm with you.
So I don't know why people complain about it. I felt it was better than like when they remix or reuse music in Birth by Sleep and Dream Drop Distance.
Yeah.
There were some tracks in both those titles that were just reused, and they were like literally just copy pasted from Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah. I feel like there was. I'm trying to think if I feel like there might have been a couple that were copy pasted into this. I can't think of examples. I could be wrong too. It might have just sounded similar or something, but.
Pasted.
What's that?
I think Vim and Vigor was copy pasted.
Yeah. Oh, it was the I remember it was the Keyblade Graveyard fights. Like the Dismiss was in there, 13th Dilemma, 13th Struggle. So a lot of those were copy pasted, I believe.
Dude, I missed 13th Dilemma. I don't remember hearing this.
I think you had to kill Riku first, and that. Well, maybe it wasn't. I don't remember. Yeah, it definitely was. You had to kill Riku first and fight Zigbar.
Really?
Yep. And you get 13th Dilemma.
Oh.
But it was the 2.5 version. I don't think there was anything new about it. Which was like, darn it, I was looking forward to a remix of 13th Dilemma and Lord of the Castle and whatnot, but they're already so good. Why not just throw them in there?
Right. So the last thing we were going to talk about today was the game story.
Story, yeah.
The plot. What do you think?
I had very little complaints about it initially. And now I'm drawing blanks because I gotta think about it a quick sec. Disney Worlds, I had complaints about 3 of them, I think.
Okay.
I didn't like Corona's story, Caribbean story, and San Francisco's story. Other than that, they were either mediocre or really good. Olympus had the best story, in my opinion.
Really?
Yes, out of the Disney Worlds, because it followed the movie and it almost put its own like style on it. Maybe it was because I've seen it like done in past games over and over and over and over again. And it just never actually followed the movie, and then it finally did.
Every title in the Kingdom Hearts series, but never gets past Hercules.
Exactly. But we finally see the rest of it, so I was like, okay, about time.
Yeah.
It was actually a very decent story. Frozen was aight. Monsters Inc. was aight. I think I listed all the Disney worlds.
Yeah, 100 Acre Wood.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The story was the best part about 100 Acre Wood. No, actually, correction. The animation was the best part about 100 Acre Wood because it was actually really stylistically pretty.
Yep.
And it was neat how they all looked like pop-up book figures.
Yeah.
As far as the original story, actually, what did you think about Disney stories?
So, for the most part, especially towards the beginning of the game, the Disney worlds I felt had really good stories. So I really enjoyed Twin Peaks. I really enjoyed Kingdom of Corona.
Mm-hmm.
Olympus, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Great. I think, again, my main issues, Disney-wise, are the Caribbean, San Francisco, and 100 Acre Wood.
Yeah.
Arendelle was a little iffy.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I found when I was writing my review last week, what I found was that the worlds I tended to dislike or not enjoy as much were the ones that followed mostly the story from the movie. And the reason I feel is because in Caribbean, in Arendelle, in Kingdom of Corona as well, they follow the story of the movie, but at the same time they keep pulling Sora, Donald, and Goofy out of the story of the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was weird.
And it's like, okay, so why are you here?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Caribbean's is the worst because it drops you 30 minutes into Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End.
Mm-hmm.
And then takes you on this what feels like a side quest before dropping you into the last 30 minutes of
Yep.
of at World's End. And it's like, what?
I remember there was one specific line in Caribbean that was something along the lines of, like, when they got back, they're like, what did we miss? And then Will looks at him and is like, you missed a lot. And I'm like, yeah, no kidding. Like,
yeah, really.
It was awful. Oh,
yeah.
Blah.
Caribbean was terrible in that regard.
It was it was a convoluted movie to begin with, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah, but the whole we're following a fake Jack Sparrow thing was weird.
Yeah, that was weird. I don't know why that was there.
Kingdom of Corona Arendelle does the same thing. It keeps putting you in and then pulling you out of Frozen. I think the worst part where that was noticeable was in the last half of the world story, where you're trying to follow Elsa back down the mountain and back to Arendelle.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is the one character that shows this best. Hans.
Yep.
Just kind of dropped in there.
And Sora's like, who the heck is this? And it's like, we're almost done with the world, and we're like...
It's like, nice of you to notice.
Alright.
And it's like, he's just dropped in... as far as I know, he's not even named in this story. The only reason he's named is because he's in Jiminy's journal.
In the journal, yeah.
And that's it.
Yep.
It's like...
Yeah.
The heck?
Wait, why?
So, yeah, I enjoyed... I don't think I had any complaints with Monstropolis, with Toy Box.
Monstropolis felt kind of boring to me. Like, it was just like, now we're living with Boo, and Randall's being a jerk.
Yeah.
Also, I run the factory now.
Randall's
that was
plot was kind of odd.
Mm-hmm.
He felt a little more unnecessarily vengeful than
no,
was in the movie.
I definitely agree with his revenge. Like, in the movie,
I mean, he would be, but it felt what's the word? It's not vengeful. Maybe it's tacky. I don't know. He
Yeah,
just felt
there's
like
a, yeah, that's
unnaturally.
mm,
He just felt unnaturally like I will take over this factory. Ha ha ha. It's like
yeah, he felt kind of lame in comparison with
yeah.
some of the other villains, to be honest.
He felt lame compared to himself in the movie.
Yeah, that too.
It's like this isn't Randall.
Cuz he never meant to be like a villain. He was just
Yeah.
a jerk.
And now it's like I'm blatantly bad guy because okay no.
All right, cool. I completely expected Mr. Waternoose to be the bad guy, or you
Right?
had to run away from the CDA or something.
Right. I expected the CDA to be the bad guy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I could have even accepted Randall as the bad guy. They just kind of wrote him really weird.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, I feel like I'm forgetting a world that I keep forgetting to mention. I keep forgetting to mention Toy Story, which I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed the Toy Box World.
Yeah. So
I felt that story probably, in my opinion, I actually think Toy Box had the best written story.
I can agree with that. I still like Olympus's better, but you know, Toy Story is a good contender, I think.
Yeah. I felt Toy Box had the best story.
Yeah, Toy Box was really good, and then to
Toy Box
touch
and
on the
Olympus.
gameplay was good. Okay, now we're back.
As far as the overall story, I enjoyed the overall story. I didn't agree with it at first, and I think it's more like I understand the criticism more than I agree with it. That it felt missing in the middle of the game, which again, and many people have pointed this out. The Kingdom Hearts series is always done. It always starts really good with the story, with the main story. Then it's got all the Disney World peppered in the main story somewhere around there, and then it just blasts you at the end.
Yeah, it's very normal for the Kingdom Hearts series to do that. I think people were hoping that it would change, but like it's not like it got worse. It just didn't get it stayed the same.
Yeah. Yeah, so I understand the criticism more than I agree with it.
Yeah. No, I completely
I understand why it feels like the Disney Worlds are just filler again. Because they always feel that way.
I feel like you know, I don't feel like the Disney Worlds were filler in this game. I genuinely enjoyed them and felt like they were good. But the I feel like I'm still gonna criticize it. The idea of like there's only stuff in the beginning and the end has always been a thing, and I've always criticized that. So like for me to say, it's not so much a criticism of 3; it's a criticism of the series as a whole. And I still stand by that criticism. That I think that the series can definitely change.
That said, I felt that Kingdom Hearts 3 involved the Disney Worlds in the main plot a little better than it has in the past. Toy Box, again, is probably the best example of them.
Yes, very, very much so. I think that it intertwined a lot better. The best in Toy Box.
In Toy Box, yeah. Caribbean actually does that fairly well, too. Being honest.
Monstropolis did it decently.
Yeah.
By making like.
I think the one I'm the most opposed to is Arendelle and Kingdom on the way they can't.
Yeah, I think Arendelle was probably the worst one because like Larxene was just in the background. Like I think there was zero interaction with the main plot.
There was almost none, and as always, there's got to be some story detail that was retconned poorly. The new Seven Hearts thing was terrible.
Why?
Nothing
ever happened with it.
It was unnecessary.
They didn't even get all 7.
Exactly. It was 100% unnecessary. is this really unnecessary attempt to make an excuse for why we're not going back to Enchanted Dominion and Castle. It's like, I don't
Yep.
need an excuse. We're not going. That's it. We're done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they only listed that. Yeah, they only listed 4 people. No,
Yeah.
5.
Elsa, Anna, Kyrie, and Rapunzel.
Nope. They also mentioned Baymax and Buzz Lightyear. I think. I'm pretty sure they were gonna
as any of the actual 7 hearts.
They didn't mention the 7, but they're like, we need to know how hearts work. Yeah. So I think that was.
With those 2, it was more. We need to know how hearts work because we're totally bringing Xion back as a replica puppet.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with Rapunzel and Anna and Elsa is more, we need to protect them because you all are a bunch of punks and we're probably going to go after them.
Yeah. Well, was Kyrie even slated for the new 7?
Sora mentions her when he brings up the 7 hearts to Master Yen Sid.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's just an unnecessary plot line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it's like, the organization are bad guys. Like, that's all the reason I need to protect the Rapunzel and Anna and Elsa in the story. I don't need to know because they're probably gonna kidnap them because they're the new 7 hearts.
Yeah. Yeah. Blah.
So as always, there's always a plot line that's always done poorly.
The labyrinth was cool.
Did the time travel thing poorly. Kingdom Hearts 3 did the 7 hearts thing poorly.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that is per the normal Kingdom Hearts thing.
Yeah.
It's another one of those. This is a problem with this series, not necessarily 3.
With the game, yeah.
Yeah. This is just 3 style on the problem.
Yep.
As far, I think that's. I don't. Let's see the main story. Without going into specifics of I love this, because there's so much. There's a lot to talk about with the story. I guess we can talk about the ending because we talked about the beginning.
Yeah.
So
I think the ending was perfect.
The ending was perfect. The only thing I didn't like was that they didn't really explain how Sora went back. I think they're gonna. My guess is that they're gonna do that in the next game.
Yes.
I don't.
You mean when after light expires? That part?
No, when Sora went back for Kyrie, like after Keyblade Graveyard, before the CGI ending.
Yeah.
I can't call them CGI, it's all CGI, but the pre-rendered graphics ending.
I believe that scene takes place very long after Kingdom Hearts 3. I think that takes place a long time after Kingdom Hearts 3.
Okay.
It's almost, I almost look at it more like a secret ending kind of timeline, where it's like it's placed right after that to make you think it comes next, but it's actually elsewhere chronologically.
Like okay, interesting.
Kingdom Hearts 2 puts the scene with the King's Letter right after the credits. Kind of makes you think that's what comes next. And actually, we have recoded in the middle.
That's true, yeah.
So that's kind of how I'm looking at this.
That's fair. I'm also looking at this. A lot of people were looking for closure on everything with 3. But, you know, Kingdom Hearts 3 was Master Xehanort's last shebang. His plot line was done. I would love to know more backstory about him, but, you know, Sora is always going. He's mentioned that Sora's story isn't done, so exactly. I don't know why people expected Sora's story to be done.
Yeah. I think it's funny that people have complained about that because it's like, why?
Yeah.
Why would you want this to be over? What is your problem?
Yeah. For real, then like leave, please. But yeah, so for Sora's story not to be done makes complete sense to me. It's that's the next game, or well, it's not gonna be the next game, but I'm like, we have another game to go with, so
yeah, it leads to what?
it's fine. Yeah.
It is Signs of What's Next.
So, I was gonna say that, but I couldn't find the words. But yes, exactly. Signs of What's Next.
Yeah, I think the story, the ending was written very well. I know a lot of people complain that Kairi was kind of cheated again.
Yep, I'm actually on that boat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Blah.
I'm kind of on the side of it was for the story.
I was for me, it's another one of those things that.
Way a couple times.
Yeah. For me, it's another one of those things that it's a problem with the series as a whole, not specifically 3.
Yeah.
Kairi was always made, like, she was written from day one to be the damsel in distress, and she, that's what she ended up being, so.
Yeah.
I don't like it, but that's, that's how he wrote his character, and that was his original intention, so I can't complain about that.
Yeah, Kairi's always the girl that Sora has always protected. That's how she's always been written. That's how Sora always has been written. I don't agree with the idea that Kairi is just inherently weak, because those events at the end of the game are really just for story more than they are for Kairi. Like, I didn't realize this when I was first playing this, but Sora's treated the same way quite a couple of times just for story.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what the other one was, but I know for sure in Toy Box, Sora's just kind of, young Xehanort picks Sora up, and Sora does nothing more than cry about it before young Xehanort just chucks him into Vernum Rex.
Vernum Rex, yeah.
Yeah, like, he doesn't fight it. In Kingdom of Corona, Marluxia puts him to sleep.
Yeah.
Like, he just blows some wind in his face,
like,
and Sora falls asleep.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's nothing about how weak Sora is. That's just for story.
That was a big majority of Dream Drop was Sora just going, okay.
Like, my friends are my power. Sleep time.
Yep. So yeah, I
think it'd be cool if Kairi was less the damsel in distress, but I don't feel like I don't feel like it's that big a deal, at least in my opinion. Because I know that it's mostly what happens to her is mostly just for story than it is for.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's what I think that's what a majority of people's criticism is that they don't like characters that are just there for the story. They want them to have their own purpose. So I feel like that's where a lot of the criticism comes from. But that's how they wrote their characters. Whatever.
Yeah.
I will say that those scenes, I'm trying to think of the two or three scenes where like all the characters are interacting, like when they're in the mysterious tower, when they're on the beach at the very end, and when they're in the Keyblade graveyard. I loved all of those. That is what I live for. Seeing Roxas and Van just kind of look at each other, go, okay, and then just like, and just all the character interactions are just wonderful, and I wanted more of that.
Yes,
I want feed me more of that. This is why I love this series.
The dialogue feels way more natural.
Oh, dialogue was great in this game.
The story was written very well as far as dialogue goes.
Good sense of humor with a lot of places. People tend to cite the Vanitas thing in Monsters Inc. But I genuinely laughed in a lot of spots.
Oh yeah,
and I'm like,
Sora and Donald, all over the place.
Yeah, they're bickering against each other is great, better than any past game.
Yep.
So I think. Yeah, I really like the story.
Same.
I don't think there's anything else.
I think the other thing that's exciting, and I think we'll probably talk about this in another episode. But the
Yeah.
thing that was great about this story is also how many more. Going back to what you were saying about how the story isn't over,
Mm-hmm.
there's a whole lot more we can talk about as far as what comes next and all the theories. Like it gives you more theory material, I guess.
Yeah, I like
I
that.
was watching the last several episodes of Star Alum One's walkthrough,
Oh yeah.
or first playthrough, and I was getting so excited watching it again, like watching the story and thinking like, oh, what if it's this person? What is this? What if this is going on?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Is Demix the
I
master
think
of masters? Yeah, like that kind of thing.
yeah, I really enjoy that Kingdom Hearts 3 has made that possible again.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
Because I think like
completely.
a lot of that, at least for me, has kind of personally died down since about Dream Drop Distance.
Mm-hmm.
So it's exciting that Kingdom Hearts 3 has filled that up again.
Yeah, that's what keeps me in this series. Is that's what keeps me here. Is people going, okay, here's this theory. Here's this theory. Okay, what about this? Look at this little hidden detail.
Yep.
I think that's a lucky emblem, like all these other little like plot points. So having Zigbar be Lushu was like, whoa. Having Ava not show up, having the entire secret ending of Yozora, good stuff.
It is really well done.
Well, one of these podcasts we'll have to do a theory podcast, where we
Yes.
just come up with some good theories. The only other thing to touch on, I think, is just how pretty it looked, and all I can really say about it is it looked real pretty.
It looked really pretty. It
I
was
don't
really well done.
I think the only time I noticed weird things with the animation was the Battle of 1,000 enemies.
Yeah.
Was that some of the frame rates in the background were dropped.
Yeah.
But that's, you have a lot of enemies, that's what's gonna happen.
It wasn't to a point where it was super noticeable. I think I noticed issues with the visuals like 2 times throughout the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like split-second issues. So.
And they didn't have the flat faces, and I was
Yes.
so happy. They had default faces, but they looked good. And it was like, oh bless, it's not just flat and the mouth moving up and down.
Yep. So, I think with that, I think we're good to go.
Yeah, I think, in conclusion, Kingdom Hearts 3 was good.
Kingdom
I
Hearts 3
look
was
forward
good.
to more.
I think it was a great addition to the series. It's like when I mentioned in my review, I think it brings the series really well into the next generation. As far as it shows us what can be done with Kingdom Hearts in the current console era,
Mm-hmm.
and it gives us maybe like a hint or gives us ideas of what could be done next.
Yeah. So it does its job. Yes.
Yep.
So with I guess with that being said, let's look forward to the future. There was a tagline I was thinking of, and it went out of my brain. But something look forward to the future, heart guide key, that too, whatever.
Yep.
That being said, I've been Chainoffire.
I've been KeybladeSpyMaster. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. We will see you in the next episode.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Where to stop?